Do you want to learn how you can build the sexy bubble butt of your dreams? How to get those sculpted, defined legs, a small waist with ab definition, defined arms, and to top it off, those beautiful poppin' glutes. In today's video, I'm going to explain how you get that exact result, the dream sexy female goddess physique that us women are after. I'm gonna explain how I finally got those results after trying for so many years and actually trying way harder than I needed to and really getting nowhere, and what I had to do to finally build the sexy body of my dreams, especially in the glutes and legs department. So let's get into the video. What's going on, Fit Fam? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Megan Janice. I'm an online nutrition and fitness coach for women, and I teach you ladies how to eat way more food without any restrictions and work out smarter instead of harder, so you can build that sexy, snatched, feminine hourglass body and maintain it year-round for life with ease. So if you're new to the channel, make sure to hit that like and subscribe. Come follow me over on Instagram for even more fitness content, and if you're coming on back, thanks so much for joining for another video. All right, Fit Fam. How was it that I was going to the gym religiously for 6 years, working out at least 5, if not 6 days a week, doing heavy squats, heavy deadlifts, heavy hip thrusts, doing all the exercises you're supposed to, really pushing myself, tracking my macros, eating 1 gram per pound of body weight and protein. And while I looked okay, I mean, I had some visible ab definition and I was skinny, but for all of that effort, you can see that I had really a very small butt. There was like no volume to it, and I had no shape and definition in my legs. And again, I was in the gym 5-6 days a week, eating all my protein, being so good with tracking my food and doing this for years. And you'd think, oh my God, if you're doing all that effort, surely you should be sculpting that sexy hourglass body you want to have. Well, turns out I was doing all the right things in the sense of working out, lifting heavy weights, eating my protein, tracking my macros. Yes, you need to do those things, but you can be doing the right things wrong. And that is exactly what I was doing. And it wasn't until I finally said enough is enough, I clearly am just spinning my wheels, and hired my own one-to-one mentor who had the results I wanted to teach me how to get there. Just 1 year later, I was able to finally build my dream physique. I grew my glutes significantly. I finally got the sexy definition I wanted in my legs, and I did all of this while still getting even more toned in my back, arms, and abs. And best of all, I was able to get these results trying way less hard. It was actually easier because when you actually understand the science, when you actually know where to put your effort, you do get the results faster and more easily. Because when you just think you know what you should do, so you're literally just throwing stuff at the wall, trying really hard, putting in all this effort, but you're not directing it correctly. You don't actually understand the science and how to apply the correct strategy. That's how you get nowhere. So I'm gonna save you from that in today's video so you too can build that sexy bubble butt and just overall that sexy, strong, toned hourglass body you wanna have. Okay, fam, so the real way that you are going to build that dream physique of yours is you must realize that physique is a woman's body with a lot of muscle. Yes, it is also that she doesn't have that much body fat, but if you just take fat off and you never really hone in on building muscle, you will just still look kind of skinny fat, feel sort of flabby and mushy instead of really toned, smooth, firm, and tight. So that's really the biggest mistake I see is women are keeping their calories really low, they're exercising a ton, and this combination is maybe gonna make them kind of skinny, but it's not going to make you toned, snatched, and sexy, because that's going to come from muscle gain. And if you're just exercising a ton and you're not eating enough and you don't know when and how to navigate muscle gain versus fat loss phases, that's how you actually get nowhere. You maybe get kind of skinny, but you don't look snatched the way you want to. So what you have to learn how to do is you have to learn how to do muscle gain phases, traditionally called bulks. I'm sure you've heard of bulking and cutting. And if you're like most women, or if you're like me in the past, the idea of bulking, even hearing that word, probably terrifies you. It used to terrify me. I was like, oh my God, bulking? I'm just gonna get fat and huge and humongous if I bulk. No, no, no. I will just always cut. I'll always just focus on losing body fat so I can be lean. And I thought it would get me toned, and it did get me a little bit of muscle definition. But here's the thing, if you're always chasing fat loss, that means you're in a deficit of energy. And if you want to get a lot of muscle, a lot of shape, how on earth can you be building something on your body that isn't there right now when you're in a deficit of energy? You need to be in a surplus of energy. You need to have more fuel than what your body's actually burning in order to create something that's not there. It has to be an excess of fuel. So that is where the bulk comes in, because all that bulking means is that you are in a moderate calorie surplus so that you can actually gain size, shape, and overall technically weight and put that on your body. Now, it's really important, of course, to know how to do this correctly, because some people, they're like, oh, okay, I'm just gonna bulk, okay, whatever, I'm just gonna eat anything and everything under the sun. Of course, that is not the way to do it, because if you bulk too hard, if you're not really doing it smartly, then of course you're just going to end up gaining a lot of body fat. And assuming you're training correctly, you're obviously also going to be gaining some muscle with the body fat, but that is when you will end up looking big and blobby and just downright fat, because you weren't strategic about your approach. If you want to get slim, thick, so you want to have that sexy hourglass shape where you're still going to keep a small waist, you're still going to have ab definition, but you're also going to be popping your booty and seeing your legs really tone and firm and define, that's where you need to learn how to bulk correctly. So how do you do that? Well, number one, you need to be weighing yourself every single day, keeping track of that in a graph and looking at the trend overall over time. Now, what you want to do when it comes to lean bulking like this, so doing it gradually, that you're putting on size and shape in the right places without gaining a bunch of body fat, staying lean overall, is you don't want to really gain more than about 2 pounds per month. That is the maximum. If you are gaining more than that, it probably means you're just gaining too much weight too quickly, and then that means you're gaining body fat. So of course, it's not just going to be this perfect line like this with no dips and ebbs. We are human, and more importantly, we're women. Our bodies are complicated. We have day-to-day fluctuations. So that is why you need to be tracking in a graph and paying attention to the overall trend. Now, how do you find that point? Well, you need to be, one, actually tracking your food and actually hitting specific macro targets, eating the correct amount of protein, fats, and carbs, because each of those three is going to determine the energy you have to train in the gym, what you need to do to build the muscle in the first place. And it's also going to determine how much fat you can lose and how much muscle you can gain. So I'm not going to get into it in this video about figuring out what your custom macros should be, but if you do want guidance on customizing those numbers, you can check out this video here where I'm going to break it down for you. Okay, so you are tracking your macros and you are hitting these numbers at least 5 days a week, potentially even more, but you do get 1 or 2 days to have your free meal or cheat meal, so you can still have a balanced, realistic lifestyle while still overall aiming for your dream results. So you are hitting your macros, you're tracking your weight every single day, and you are also taking weekly progress photos, because a lot of the time what can be happening is your weight might not yet be changing a whole lot, but you are seeing transformations in your body when you look at your photos week to week. So for example, this is me before I had ever bulked, and this is me after I had done a bulk and cut, and I actually weigh exactly the same in both. I was 137 pounds in both, but you can see I literally look like a totally new person on the right, and that's because I gained a lot of muscle, and then I also took off body fat to be able to really show that sexy muscle underneath. So again, if you weren't taking weekly progress photos, you would have no way of knowing this. So that is a must. Daily weigh-ins, weekly progress photos, tracking your macros, and then the last thing is tracking your workouts. And your workouts really should be what is better called training, and that training should be lifting weights, really challenging yourself in the gym or at least at home, having adequate resistance to use, not just 5-pound dumbbells, not just 10-pound dumbbells. Get yourself some heavy weights, an array of weights to be using, because the way that we build muscle is putting a challenging resistance, putting a lot of stimulus on the muscle. That's literally what tells it, like, hey, wake up, I'm trying to get you to grow. So the thing is, you need to be training the muscle properly. You need to be targeting it and putting that stimulus on your muscles, but you also need to be eating enough to, number one, be able to push yourself hard enough in the gym in the first place to really overload the muscle you want to hit. And then number two, to actually have the fuel to build something with and recover from your workouts. So that's why I used to look just kind of soft and skinny fat, even though I was training really hard, lifting really heavy weights, doing all the big lifts the way that you're supposed to build lots of muscle. But because I wasn't eating enough, it didn't matter. Like, you can be working out, you can be doing all the things, but if you don't give your body the fuel it needs to actually grow, you are not going to grow. And the only way you can know that you are eating the right amount to grow is actually tracking the data. So what you're going to do is see that overall weight trend of about 2 pounds per month, and you want to bulk for at least about 6 months, I would say. If you can go even longer, if you can do it for like a year, put it this way, the longer you can do it, the better it's going to be, because you're going to be able to build more muscle and add way more shape. Now, you are eventually going to hit a point where you're going to start to feel like, okay, I'm feeling a little bit fluffy now, maybe summer's coming kind of soon, and you're like, I just want to trim down and get kind of as lean, as snatched and toned as I possibly can. That is when you're going to cut. But it's so important to understand that if you are always cutting and you don't ever do the bulking phase, the muscle building phase, when you cut, you'll have nothing to show underneath. So you have to take this phase of actually gaining a bit of weight, putting on that size and shape, and then you cut and trim down a little bit of body fat, maybe 10, 15 pounds, and you look like a whole new woman underneath. So that's actually what I am doing right now. I finished my second ever bulk last year in 2024. I literally just bulked for the entire year and ended up finishing the year at about 141, maybe maximum 142 pounds. I'm 5'6", and honestly, actually felt really great. Like, I was able to stay really lean while I was bulking, even though I did gain close to 10 pounds in 1 year from January till the end of the year. And now here in 2025, I am now cutting because I was able to put on a bit more weight. I was able to put on a bit more muscle, and I decided, okay, now let me trim down a little bit of fluff, aim to lose around 10 pounds, maybe a little tiny bit more. And I'm about halfway to that goal. Right now, I'm 6 pounds down and just over 3 months into my cut. So I'll probably need to spend at least another 2 to 3 months to really hit my ultimate end goal. And then guess what? I'm gonna go right back to building, right back to bulking, because then I'm gonna be really lean and I'll have lots of space to put lots of sexy muscle on. So I get that this is a lot of information. It is quite overwhelming to try to put all this together on your own. And honestly, that's what I did for years. I just was like, oh, I can figure it out on my own. And like I said, I had okay results, but for somebody who was trying as hard as I did, I literally just was staying stagnant, plateauing, not seeing any progress for 6 years until I finally decided to hire a mentor. And then I got the best results of my life in 1 year. So if you would like that, if you want to be guided exactly what to eat, exactly how to work out, how to get the best results possible from your time in the gym and build the sexy, snatched hourglass body of your dreams, that is exactly what we offer inside of our online one-to-one coaching. You can work with me personally if you so want to be guided through building a sexy bubble butt, getting a snatched waist, and building those defined legs. So if you're interested, click on the link in the description. I'd love to have a chat with you and see if you'd be a good fit. So now I've talked a lot about the food side of this equation, and it is so important because you need to make sure that you are actually eating enough to build muscle, that you actually do that muscle building phase, the bulk, and that you're tracking what you're doing so that you know for sure it's working. Because let's say you think like, oh my gosh, I'm eating so much, but when you go and you look at your overall scale trend, you don't see that it is moving upwards. Even if it feels like a lot of food for you, it does not mean it's enough food for you to actually be seeing any results. So you really do need to track data and pay attention. Now, the other thing to be tracking and paying attention to is your workouts, aka, like I said, better to say, your training. So another big mistake that I see all the time and that I honestly used to make myself is just exercising, working out way too much. So you're spending all this energy, all this time, but it's really not directed correctly. So if you're somebody who right now you just do a bunch of classes in a group, and even if there is a weightlifting component, maybe they use some dumbbells or a little bit of bars, and I don't mean to hate on this because I understand that that can be really encouraging for some people to go in a group setting like that and have the accountability. But the honest truth is just that exercising like that is not going to build a sexy bubble butt, this sexy feminine hourglass body, because it is much more so cardio than it is strength training, aka building muscle. So even though maybe there's some weights component involved in it, the way that you actually build muscle in your training is that you consistently directly hit the muscle you want to hit, and you are progressing at the lifts over time. So this is why you want to have a set workout plan, and I recommend 4 days a week. That is what I do myself, is what all my clients do to get really dramatic results. I used to do 5-6 days a week, and my results were so much worse because it is so much more about quality than quantity when it comes to training for physique. Because really what you want to do is you want to see your training sessions as your opportunity to go in, hit the muscles hard, really make your body work, and then outside of that, you're letting the muscles heal and recover. So the way you know how much volume you should be doing in your training to actually get your dream results, volume meaning literally just the amount that you do, is you don't want to do any more than 12 to 14 sets per muscle group per week. So since in this video we're really focusing on bubble butt, on growing glutes, that means you would not want to do any more than 14 sets total for the entire week that is directly targeting glutes. Same thing for quads, same thing for hamstrings, because also building your legs is a really important part of getting the bubble butt look that you want. It's not just glutes, it's also legs. So whether you split that volume over 2 days or 3 days, I wouldn't really recommend doing it over 4 days. I think that's just a little bit too much. But for example, for a long time, I would do 2 lower body days and 2 upper body days. So I would take those 12 to 14 sets for lower body and split it over the 2 lower body days. But recently, I honestly, for the most part, feel very happy with my upper body, especially my back. I mostly just want to focus on shoulders and then biceps and triceps at this point, especially shoulders. I'm never satisfied with them. They're the 3rd muscle group I want to target after glutes and legs. So recently, the last maybe 6 weeks, I've been training a little bit differently, where I'm doing just 1 full upper body day, then I have my glutes and quads day, hamstrings and glutes day, and then I have a mix of a shoulders and glutes day, since that 4th day is kind of like specifically what I want to focus on. So all that I've done is I've taken the normal volume, the normal amount of sets that I would do to target glutes, and instead of having it in just 2 days, I'm spreading it out over 3 days. It's really just what you prefer. So what are the best exercises you can do to build that dream bubble butt and really see the sculpted leg definition you want? When we're talking just glutes, honestly, the absolute queen is barbell hip thrust. There is no competition. This is an absolute must to be doing if you really want to see your glutes grow, and you definitely want to be pushing yourself with this exercise, doing as many reps as you possibly can, adding more weight to the bar over time. You can get really, really strong at this exercise. Now, everything else, in my opinion, that's glute focused is more of a light exercise. So things like 45-degree hyperextensions, this is a really good way to isolate the glutes where you don't actually need very much resistance. And then it would be things like abductions, which is more hitting the side of the glutes, which is going to help round out your bubble butt, and things like cable kickbacks. So all of those exercises are a little bit more like isolation. So it's going to be more high rep and not very heavy weight, but it's a way to really hone in and directly target the glutes. Now, the other exercises that are going to really help you grow your glutes, but also help you grow your legs simultaneously, are things like really any deadlift variation, especially a stiff-legged deadlift, in my opinion, is the absolute best. That is where you're keeping your legs quite straight the whole time, bending down, bringing the weight back up. And this is really going to build your hamstrings, and it's going to also hit your glutes. And don't forget, to get that sexy kind of definition in your lower body, you definitely need to also build hamstrings in addition to building your glutes. Otherwise, it's not going to look quite right. And then for the front of your legs, for your quads, the best exercises you can do to hit quads and glutes is squat variations. In my opinion, especially a hack squat is the best exercise, because that is going to really, really, really target your quads and make them look super sexy and defined. But since you're able to squat so low and use quite a lot of resistance, you're also overloading your glutes. Now, the other honorable mentions, as I would call it, for lower body training to really build glutes and legs would be things like the leg press. And there's so many different positions you can put your feet in order to target a little bit more hamstrings or a little bit more quads. Then things like Bulgarian split squats and step ups. And then of course, any sort of lunge variation. Overall, that is what your lower body training should consist of. All those exercises I just shared. You don't need to do anything else other than these. I have pretty much not done any other exercise other than those ones I just mentioned. Of course, I just do different variations to kind of keep it interesting, different rep ranges over time. So it's super important for glute growth, for leg growth, that you're not doing every single exercise ever and that you're not overdoing it. It is so much more about going in the gym, doing your maybe 5 exercises and usually about 3 sets, but sometimes it can be as little as 2 sets per exercise, and giving it your all. Really push yourself hard. Make sure you are adding more reps or more weight over time, that you are progressing, that you are improving your form, that you are improving your range of motion, your muscle-mind connection, and really push hard, train super close to failure. And trust me, if you do that, in addition to eating enough and properly bulking and cutting, you are absolutely going to build the body of your dreams. This is exactly what I have done with so many women to transform their physique, taking them through bulking, cutting, and teaching them how to properly lift weights to build the body of their dreams that they are now easily able to maintain. So if you would like to be guided, if you don't have to figure this all out on your own, you just want to have your hand held, you want to be told exactly what to do to get the best possible results as quickly as possible, that's exactly what we offer you inside of our one-to-one online program. So click on the link in the description. We'd love to chat with you and see if you'd be a good fit. All right, fam, thank you so much for checking out this video. Now, next I want you to go watch this one here where I'm going to break down one of my lower body workouts so you can see the exact details of how I train, and you can follow along and do one of my lower body workouts with me. So I will see you in that video.